when I was 17, I'd literally just turned 17, and I was really active at that point. Like, I was always kicking a ball around, and I had a job delivering leaflets over the summer. So I was really active. I think I can't tell you how many miles I was walking a day, but it was a lot because I had to hand out all these leaflets. And I then got a virus, and it was just like a sickness bug. And I thought, okay, great, not great, but I'll take a week and I'll be fine. And then I just never recovered from it. And the first sort of few weeks, it was just that real heavy fatigue that you have after any sort of flu or sickness and stuff like that. And then it just didn't go away. And so the whole of the summer, I was just like, couldn't move. I felt like my body was just dunked in cement. Everything felt so heavy. I felt so nauseous. I felt so tired. And yeah, it sort of took 6 months to get diagnosed. And then I was diagnosed with ME, which is the equivalent of like chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, which is chronic widespread pain. So although it had taken 6 months for that diagnosis, obviously it was great to have it, but unfortunately there wasn't really any treatment at that point, sort of 11 years ago.
So like how, as a 17-year-old, did that start to like almost impact your life? How, because what I'm trying to do is almost just understand, if I can, like, what changed, what happened, just in terms of stuff that you were doing before that maybe was a bit harder, because obviously that's going to impact, I guess, your schoolwork, your social life, everything.
Yeah, it completely changed my life almost, I would say overnight, but a period of a few weeks, I think it really changed it, especially then when it got to a point that I thought, I'm not getting better from this. You start to have those thoughts after a couple of weeks and you think something's really not right here. For me, so I was doing my second year of A-levels and I had to stop physically going to college because I just couldn't leave the house. I was so weak, like I struggled to lift a glass of water because it was so heavy, my muscles just couldn't do it. And then in terms of social life, I think I felt very isolated at the time, and I felt quite resentful at the time of, where have all my friends gone? Why aren't they here? Why don't they care? But obviously looking back at it now that I'm a lot older, I can just see that I think at 17, no one's really prepared for that, and no one understands, and everyone's in their own little bubble of everything they've got going on and thinking about starting to go out and go to university. And I think I kind of just got forgotten about because I wasn't there. But it was really difficult, and I think it really affected my mental health, and I struggled a lot with depression because of that.
Because I know that one of the things you're really passionate and you kind of campaign for is about hidden disabilities.
Yeah.
For people that might not know the term, what does that mean and what are some examples?
So I think when we think of disabled, obviously we think of that typical image of a wheelchair user. And even though you may not be able to necessarily see their disability, there's a real visual clue there. And I think a lot of disabilities you can't see when you look at a person. So at the time when I was 17, I had to start using a mobility aid, so I started using a walking stick. But for me now, if I stood up and did a twirl, you wouldn't be able to see kind of anything quote unquote wrong with me. But obviously I've got a lot going on health-wise. So I think what's really important about that is just remembering that there's not one type of disability, there's hundreds, and you can't necessarily see all of them. Sometimes you can see sort of the symptoms and side effects, like you might be able to see that someone's tired or see that someone's shaky or struggling on their feet, but often we can't see the disability, and there's a lot going on that we kind of don't know about when we look at people.